I saw someone refer to him as he's the candidate that believes that Trump is the cause, not a symptom, basically.
Yes. Right,
there's been this argument that it's the opposite. I'm a little bit more nuanced on that. I think that he is sort of the natural, like what our economy and what all of our political conversation has created out there brings about a candidate like him. But I do think that once he's in office, he does embolden extremist groups and things like that. But I think that he's primarily a symptom of more structural issues. So he's not going to be running to change the system or anything like that. My concern is that there was an argument before the 2016 election or during it that if we reject Hillary Clinton, then people will demand a fundamentally different candidate. And there was a chance that could work, it might happen, but I also have a fear. It's not a big fear, it's not a greater than 50% fear. It's just a fear that I think people just want something better than what they've got. And if you give them a monster, normalcy, going back to a centrist, that's a lot better than what we've got. That's my fear. I don't think that that's gonna win, but Biden, he just looks like, oh, it's no more sending kids to Guantanamo, no more family separation or whatever. And he could slide by just on, not on anything he brings, but what he doesn't bring, and what he doesn't bring is Donald Trump.
So I've made this argument in regard to Buttigieg, and I think it certainly applies with Biden as well. Normalcy, yes, but more importantly, for the people on the left and maybe some independents who are disgusted by the Trump presidency, they're likely going to be attracted to certain candidates that speak to their nostalgia, right? So for most people who aren't hyper aware of the flaws in the Obama administration, who didn't cover it and talk about it on a regular basis, on the surface, everything seemed fine, right? And so Biden represents that. And the reason why I include Buttigieg in that argument is because Buttigieg is very Obama-esque. All of the things that appeal to voters about Obama, appeal to voters about Buttigieg. He went to Harvard, he's so smart, he's well-spoken. I'm talking about people who don't dig a little deeper and look into some of the policies that he spearheaded in South Bend that really hurt some minority communities, particularly Black people living in that area. But on the surface, again, it's all about surface politics. Buttigieg and I think Biden represent the nostalgia that some Democrats are looking for.
Buttigieg is trash, and I look forward to trashing him soon. But I think you're totally right. But I think some part of this that people you're pointing to that people don't really like to acknowledge, particularly those of us who are really policy oriented, is that a lot of this stuff is actually personality driven, obviously, and it is about a certain type of appeal. And what's interesting to me is I actually think Buttigieg and Biden are kind of the inverse. I think Biden is a guy who, if you're in a certain sector, particularly if you're like, in media or active on Twitter or whatever, like some type of millennial adjacent to the Democratic Party, you're not gonna like that guy. And his version of being like an old Irish whatever is not gonna appeal to you. But it's gonna appeal to a lot of normal primary voters. I think Buttigieg actually is tailor-made for like neurotic Ivy League obsessives and not for normal people in the same way. That's actually a huge advantage Bernie has. The funny secret about Bernie is that he's a super effective politician outside of the, sure, he's sloppy and he's grouchy or whatever, but he's a clear, relentless communicator.
That's true.
And you know exactly what he's saying, and it's simple and it's distilled, and it actually works in a very simple, clear way.
And it's consistent.
And it's consistent.
And I think that sincerity and that authenticity does speak to many voters. In fact, believe it or not, a conservative who writes for the National Review, Rich Lowry, made that same point following his town hall on Fox News. And so I think that, right now, Biden and Bernie are kind of head to head in the polls. It really depends on which poll you're looking at. But it is interesting to see this, divide. I don't know if it's a divide, but there's definitely more of a reception toward Bernie this time around, and that makes me hopeful. I don't know how this is gonna change with Biden announcing.
Yeah, I mean, Biden, he does have some appeal to some people we might not have expected for a Democratic candidate. Like he's gonna be, in his first big interview is gonna be on The View, and there's a 25% chance Meghan McCain hugs him. Like on the show, honestly. So that should help him in the primary, I'm sure, having Meghan McCain's support.
Oh yeah, everyone wants to know who
Exactly, I'm joking, yes, of course.
Thanks for watching this free clip of the Young Turks. Don't forget to become a TYT member today. For more exclusive content, join now at tyt.com/join.